What do you do when life keeps saying no? What do you do when every door is slammed in your face and you have a child depending on you? This is not a story of fame. It's not a story of shortcuts. This is the real-life journey of Chris Gardner, a man who battled poverty, abuse, and homelessness while raising a child alone and still built a future on the other side of despair. This story is not just inspirational. It is transformational. It teaches us what it truly means to be mentally strong when the world has nothing left to give you but pain. He wrote a best-selling memoir. His life was turned into the film The Pursuit of Happyness, starring Will Smith, but most importantly, he gave back. He started foundations to help the homeless. The offer, but he kept showing up because he had a why stronger. Born into brokenness, Chris Gardner was born on February 9th, 1954, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He never knew a life of comfort. His stepfather was violent, controlling. He saw fear in her eyes every single day. As a child, Chris was put into foster care twice. He learned to depend on no one. He learned to hide pain. He learned to survive. But he also learned to dream, even if his dreams felt impossible, lost and looking for a way out. As Chris grew older, he searched for anything, to help him escape the cycle. He joined the Navy, hoping structure would save him. There he met a renowned heart surgeon, Dr. Robert Ellis, who took Chris under his wing. Chris started working in medical research. But money was still tight. His dreams of being a doctor faded, not from lack of intelligence but lack of means. The Red Ferrari. Chris was walking one day when he saw a man in a suit step out of a Ferrari. He couldn't ignore it. He asked him bluntly, "What do you do for a living?" The man replied, "I'm a stockbroker." At that moment, Chris realized this was the life he wanted. Not the car, but the control, the freedom, and the respect. And here's the thing, he didn't even know what a stockbroker really was. But he was willing to learn. Fighting for a chance, Chris started applying to brokerage firms. But no one would take him seriously. He had no degree, no connections, no experience. He knocked on doors, he made cold calls. And finally, after months of chasing, he got accepted into a training program at Dean Witter Reynolds. But here's the twist, it was unpaid. At the same time, his girlfriend left, taking their son. Chris fought to get custody, and won. Now he was broke, unemployed, and a single father, but he didn't quit, he couldn't. Homeless with a baby. Chris and his son had no place to stay. He had no degree, no resources, no support system. They slept in bathrooms, parks, church shelters, and train stations. He never told his coworkers he was homeless. He showed up in a pressed shirt, borrowed, washed in a public sink, ready to work. He made over 200 cold calls a day. He studied at night. He held his son during the day, often with no food, no diapers, and no support. After 6 months of unpaid work, Chris sat before a group of men who would decide his fate. He had one suit, no bank account, but a fire inside that no one could ignore. And they hired him. Chris Gardner became a full-time employee at Dean Witter. His days of hunger and hiding were finally over. Rise to riches. Chris didn't stop there. He went on to start his own firm, Gardner Rich & Company. He built millions in wealth. He became a voice for the voiceless, all because he refused to let the pain become his prison. The lesson. Chris Gardner teaches us this: you do not need perfect circumstances. You need an unbreakable reason to keep going. Mental strength is built in the shadows. In the late nights, the rejections. The hunger, the heartbreak. Like Chris Gardner, you can turn trauma into triumph. But only if you believe one thing: you deserve happiness. You deserve a future, and you are strong enough to create it. Learn how Chris Gardner overcame poverty, single fatherhood, and rejection to build a legacy of hope and success. This video dives deep into his struggles, mindset, and the life-changing decisions that turned his pain into power. A must-watch for anyone seeking motivation to overcome adversity and achieve greatness. Subscribe for more inspiring real-life stories about mental toughness and success. This is Rise and Inspire 88. Stay safe, rising people.